Hey there! So, in this series of my personal pen collection, I have already reviewed it's not really a review, it's more of an overview, I would say. The Classic Pens LB5, which I think is a beautiful pen. This is a fairly large pen, and this is the Cayenne finish, which is a bright red. The nice thing is that this is not the only Classic Pens pen made with this material. Here is the LM1. The LM1 I found in Madrid at the pen show, at the table of Sarge Minhas, the one-man pen show. And I really liked it. And the reason I like it so much is that the material is really pretty. I think I've raved enough about the material in the LB5 video in this series, but it's really pretty. It has a lot of depth and it's just wonderful. So, great pen. This one is smaller than the LB5, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a small pen, it's just smaller than the LB5, which is pretty big. So this is a bit more portable, and that means you can carry it a little bit more easily. Simple pen. I have not yet recorded my full review of this. It will come at some point. Number 6 Bock nib. This has a very nice italic nib, which is a true italic, nice line variation. It is 18 karat gold. It is marked Classic Pens Bock nib, as I understand it, but quite nice. Now, clearly, you can sort of see. I mean, if you put this next to an LB5. You kind of see some similarities, right? There's the double gold rings, there's the black section, there's, all of that stuff. But, as I said, the LB5 really is a large pen. I'm not saying the LM1 is not large, but it's just a bit smaller. It makes it just a little bit more carryable, which I think is great for everyday use. So you have a nice, larger pen, but not as big as the LB5. Also, my LB5 has a cross-point nib, which is kind of meant for Asian calligraphy, and it's very broad and it's very nice. But for everyday writing, Western writing, it's not necessarily super practical because you really have to write a bit bigger. This is great. I had this with the italic nib, worked fine. You can use that. And then a very, very kind viewer, Kyle, contacted me and said, I have a broad nib for this pen which I don't use. Do you want to have it? So I said, oh yeah. And he sent it to me, and that's a really nice broad, because it's an actual broad. It's a really broad, nice round nib, so that's also great for everyday writing. So I really enjoyed this, and I'm glad I got it, not just because it's a beautiful pen, and if you care for such a thing, it makes for a really nice pair with the LB5. I just think it's a great pen. One issue I have is that it it can run dry a bit. Maybe that's because of the way they made it. It's a very open feed. It can run dry a bit, but it's not necessarily it's a bit of an issue, but I can look past that given the looks and feel of the pen. Also, you can uncap this really easily. It's, let me see. That's about one full turn and it's uncapped, which I know some people appreciate if I mention that. So easy to uncap, faster than the LB5, and it's just really nice. I just love it. So it's a great pen to have in one's collection. I really love it. This is not called Cayenne, this is called Flame Red, but as I said, same diffusion bonded acrylic material as the LB5. It's just super pretty. It's intense, it's beautiful, and I love it. So let's have a look at how it writes. That's what's coming up next. I hope this was useful so far, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so let's look at this Classic Pens LM1. I have the italic nib on it right now. When I do my full review, I will also show off that broad nib that Kyle sent me, which is actually what I have on it usually. But for now, I thought it would be fun to do this. So here we have the LM1 in the, I'm not going to put that down, but the Flame Red. The nib is the italic, and the ink is Schaefer Script Red. Smooth writer. And as you can see, some nice line variation. Also works pretty well for faster writing, although it is an italic nib. So if you don't align it properly to the paper, it will skip. That's just the way it's made. Wetness, it's not an ultra wet nib, but it's definitely well tuned, I would say. And line variation, well, I mean, it is 18 karat. You can push it a bit, but you don't really have to because it's an italic nib. So you have this natural line variation just because of the shape of the nib, which requires absolutely no pressure whatsoever. The reverse writing doesn't really make sense on an italic nib, so that doesn't really work. But you do get a very nice line variation, which I think is a lot of fun to use, and that's definitely also one of the reasons I love this pen. It's just a great nib. A lot of fun, great pen, beautiful finish, and a very nice smaller brother to the LB5. Okay, so hope this was useful. Glad to see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.